3 places left for Champions League, 5 teams in the running. Who's going to miss out? So on Sunday is the final day of the season, and we're fighting out for Champions League with Forest, City, Villa and Chelsea. Now, a lot of us are pretty nervy going into that final game of the season against Everton, and rightly so, because since Moyes took over, Everton have been on a pretty good run of form. But regardless of that, we need to win this game to make sure that Champions League is in our hands, because at the moment, it is in our hands and we need to make sure we keep it that way. So I do have a few bits of information in this video that are hopefully going to help calm everyone's nerves a little bit. And not in a way where I'm going to say, oh yeah, we're definitely going to win this game, because Everton are a hard team to beat at the moment, but more in a sense of just trying to shed a positive light on our build up to this fixture, because we are all a little bit nervy, but the last thing we need is a nervy St James's Park on Sunday. So as much as I know it's the hope that kills you, and if they do let us down on Sunday, we're all going to wish we never believed, we can't afford to go into the game with that mentality, because we are gonna need St James's Park to be bouncing. So if anyone is going to St James's Park, I'm going, but if anyone else is going and they are watching this, you're just gonna need to take that risk and let yourself believe. And I do have a lot to cover in this video. I've got a couple of topics to talk about. We'll do the match preview, I'll do the prediction for everyone's games who's in the running, and then of course remember to stick around to the end for the giveaway that hasn't only rolled over for 2 weeks running, but I've also added a bit more to it with it being the last fixture of the season. So stick around to the end for that. So a few topics I want to talk about before we get into the match preview stuff. The first one being the TV coverage of this final weekend. Now, I'm not condoning other ways of watching the game. I'm sure most fans know what the other ways of watching the games are. But what do broadcasters such as Sky and TNT, what do they expect when they go into weeks like this, the final match day of the season, where the only thing left to play for is the Champions League places? And instead of putting on Newcastle versus Everton, they choose to put on Liverpool versus Palace. Now, for a bit of context on that, I'm sure most of you are aware, but for a bit of context on that, Liverpool versus Palace, absolutely no one, not even their own fans, give the slightest of shit really about that game. Liverpool have been on holiday for weeks because they won the league weeks ago. Yes, I'm sure it'll be nice for them to finally sign off their trophy-winning season at home, but realistically that was done weeks ago. We don't need to watch 90 minutes of them going through essentially a pre-season friendly against Palace to be able to see that. And Palace as well just won their first cup in their club's history. They literally could not give less of a fuck about league position. Their season has been defined, and rightfully so, by an FA Cup win. The league, right now, whether they win or lose this game, they could not care less. I'm assuming. I'm not a Palace fan. If there's a Palace fan that does care about winning this game, let me know. But what them choosing that game has essentially done, though, has left no legal way in the UK for fans who aren't going to the game to watch Newcastle versus Everton. Now, luckily enough for myself, I'll be going to the game, and 50,000 other fans also will. But that's only a small percentage of our UK fan base. For the other hundreds of thousands of fans across the UK, what the fuck are they meant to do? I can't get my head around why broadcasters would make decisions like that, and then they're baffled as to why people are making alternative means to watch the game. And we aren't even touching on the pricing of Sky and TNT and all that kind of stuff there. That's a whole nother video. But if these alternative means of watching games are such a problem for their business as they always go on about them being, instead of spending time and money to get social media pages and news outlets to post scaremongering bullshit stories, why don't the broadcasters just spend more time listening to what fans actually fucking want? Because in this instance, there's now hundreds of thousands of fans across the UK now can't watch Newcastle Everton, or at least can't watch it legally. And this isn't me condoning any other methods of watching the game. I'm just saying, what do broadcasters really expect? Newcastle fans across the country not able to watch the game to determine whether or not we get Champions League, but it's alright because Liverpool and Crystal Palace can basically watch a fucking glorified pre-season friendly. Anyway, moving on, one more topic before we get into the match preview, and I just quickly want to cover this.
Oh, no.
Right, with that over, let's get into the preview. So I did say I had a few bits of info to settle the nerves. And the first one, there's more, but the first one is injuries. So for Everton, Tarkowski is out. Branthwaite is a doubt. So if Branthwaite is missing, that means Everton are without both of their starting centre-backs, which for Everton isn't great considering their biggest strength is not conceding goals. Now, obviously, we do have injuries of our own. Isak is fighting to be fit for Sunday, so there's a chance. Joe Linton is definitely not fit. Eddie Howe has said that. Trippier is potentially back. I think we'll go back to the usual 4-3-3, but trying to guess the lineup is anyone's best guess, really. It's Everton, so it's a unique fixture for Gordon. Whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing that that's a unique fixture for him, we don't fully know. Historically, it hasn't been the best thing for him. So maybe we see a front three of Barnes, Isak and Murphy if Isak's playing. If Isak isn't playing, I know everyone wants to see a Sula. I guess you could also potentially put Gordon in at the number 9. He's played there before a few times. But I do think it's quite, unfortunately, universally agreed that I don't think anyone really wants to see Wilson starting. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on that one, but I think it is pretty unanimous now across the majority of the fan base that we don't want to see Wilson starting. Midfield 3, I think it'll be Sandro, Bruno and Willock with Joe Linton being out. And back 5, I think will be Tino, Byrne, Shah, Kraft, possibly Trippier instead of Kraft, and then Pope, obviously. Now, I did say there was more reasons for optimism, and the next one of them being Everton's new stadium. Now, I know on the face of it, you're thinking, what are you talking about? It's played at St James's Park. But what I'm thinking, trying to get into the heads of the players, they've just had their emotional farewell at Goodison Park. You can sort of see the players seeing last week at home as their sort of sign off for the season. So you can sort of see this game being a little bit of a formality for them, other than obviously T-Rex Arms, who's going to have a lot of motivation to try and spoil our party. But outside of him, you can kind of see it just being a bit of a formality for the rest of the players. And then the final reason for optimism is an article I came across earlier in the week. I can't remember which site it was that posted it, but it's a popular NUFC blog. So if anyone did see the article earlier in the week and knows where I've seen it, then let me know in the comments where it was from and I'll post it in the description. But what it did was it essentially laid out the fixtures of every team in the Champions League battle. And what you find when you look at everyone else's fixtures is that although Everton isn't just a walk in the park, it is probably the easiest fixture of everyone competing for the Champions League places. The main reason being because we're at home. If you look at everyone else's fixtures and try put us in their boots, you'd rather have to get a win against Everton at home to guarantee Champions League than have to go to Fulham away to try get Champions League, or go to Old Trafford away to try get Champions League. Potentially, actually. Man United are that shit at the moment. Maybe that one would be easier. But then regardless of if Old Trafford would potentially be easier, Villa, it isn't in their hands. They're relying on someone else. So then that still puts us in a stronger position than them as well. And then, of course, you've got Chelsea and Forest playing each other. So there's a reason why outside of City, we are the bookies' favourites to get Champions League. So I'm not saying it's guaranteed. Of course it's not. I'm just trying to give a bit of optimism going into the game based on everyone else's fixtures. But speaking of everyone else's fixtures, let's do a quick prediction of the fixtures and see how that has the table looking at the end of the season. So I'll do a score prediction for every game, just in case goal difference plays a part, and then I'll show you the table after, similar to my run-in video. So I'm going with 1-0 for our game, 2-2 Forest and Chelsea. I can also see Forest winning this just because their fans are incredible and they're at home, but just playing it safe, I've gone with a draw. Gone with 3-0 Villa Man United, or 0-3. Villa to win 3-0. And then I've also gone with 1-1 Fulham City. Realistically, I should probably go with a City win, but I've just got a feeling for some reason about that one. I don't know why, just do. To be honest though, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't change anything because it leaves the table looking like this. So City, Newcastle and Villa in the Champions League, Chelsea in the Europa League and Forest in the Europa Conference League. If Forest do beat Chelsea, then they just swap places with Chelsea. And just to rest everyone's nerves a little more, here's a diagram of what happens in every scenario and how they affect our chances of getting Champions League, courtesy of the Shields Gazette from the looks of things. So feel free to pause the video at this point just to have a look at that diagram. And now, before we finish, the giveaway. So every week for every game in my match prediction, I've done a giveaway, and so far it's been going on for 2 or 3 weeks now, and every week no one has managed to win it. So it's rolled over every week. Each week it was a Google Play gift card to the value of a YouTube Premium membership. So nothing major, but works out at around about a £12 gift card every week. But with no one winning for the past 2 weeks, this week it would have been a £36 gift card. However, I've decided to add a bit more with it being the final game of the season. So it's now a £50 gift card for this final game. Obviously, if it still isn't won, it'll carry over into pre-season. But yeah, same as usual, reply to the pinned comment only with your score prediction and first goal scorer. All full details of the giveaway, full information is in the description. And good luck to everyone. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you on the next one.